Yo, what's going on? It's the NOC, the Nerds of Color, and we are back with another ShoPowSho. It's your boy, Cool Ya P, your dobro, your Babinka boy, your leader of the Holla Holla Homies, and the Center Gang. And of course, I can't do this alone without, the Lechon Ladies, the Dinaguan Destroyers, the Sisig Supremes, the Amazing Ates, Cataphoric, and Viva Valentine. What's up, ladies?
What's up? Hello.
How are you, ladies? How have you been? It's been a minute. We had like a week off, incidentally, but I hope y'all had some time to just chill and get ready because we got another week of craziness and some madness coming up soon. But we got a great one today.
Yes, it's a perfect day for it too.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'll let everybody know the day of this recording is the 500th year anniversary. And y'all know because I talk about it every episode too. Because it's the story I want to tell when I finally get Hollywood looking at what I'm doing. I want to tell that Battle of Mactan story. I've been working on my screenplay for a minute because it deserves to be told. It's our Filipino Black Panther, if you will. And you already know I got Chavi de Guzman lined up. I want to have him as my Lapu-Lapu because my man's got that glorious hair and everything. Okay. I think I want to have Oscar Isaac as our Magellan. And I got some other couple cats in mind for like Raju. I'm not even gonna say the name, but the Datu who messed up my man. He messed up on Magellan, and Lapu got his revenge for playing around with him like that. But anyway, we're not gonna try and sell my Battle of Mactan story right now, but we're celebrating on this day, and it's just a great feeling to do it on this day, to talk with a man who has been just laying it down for a while and just handling business, representing in the Midwest, because we've had a lot of East Coast cats, we've had some West Coast cats, but this dude has been holding it down from the Midwest, then taking his thing out to LA. Just when I caught on to this cat, just learning and seeing his thing, the things that he's been doing and bringing to the game and just getting the word out. You know him from doing Minny Pacquiao. You know him from doing the bite-sized Biani. Let me get my clicker to get ready. This cat, I'm just so honored and humbled to have this cat because he's just amazing. And just because we don't have this is why we did the show, is to represent for the people. And for those that don't know about cats like this, you need to know this cat right here. I'm honored to have him on. Let's bring him on. Erick Esteban Erick, yo, come on in, man. You muted. Unmute. There we go.
Unmuted. Jesus Christ. Zoom. Unmuted. Thank you, man. Thank you. Oh my God. That was really lovely introduction. I'm usually the one doing the introduction because I'm hosting shows, and to get an introduction like that is wonderful and nice. And it's an honor to be on this show, man, especially on this 500th day, 500th anniversary, bro. Lapu, he's the dude who showed us how to do it, how to step it off. You just decapitate colonialism.
You know what I'm saying?
I want that on a shirt. See? Decapitate colonialism.
I know, right? I thought of that today when I was commenting on Facebook. I was like, decapitate colonialism, just like Lapu. Just it's because it's Lapu Day. And it's straight up, like we were talking on the warm-up, it's like, I'm done with the BS. Yeah. I'm not trying to BS anymore. I'm straight swinging my sword right away. That's just like Lapu.
Yes.
Man, it's wonderful to be on this show, man. I'm happy to be on this show. It's a celebration of Filipinos and Filipinism and just Filipino American culture. So for me, it's an honor to be on the show and be a guest on the show.
Hell, man, yeah, and I can't wait to just tell your story. And I feel like I said earlier, I feel like I already know you. You've lived so many lives as an actor, and you're still living these lives. And sometimes I tell a lot of cats, because I know you're still in the game doing it, and they're like, man, it's not like I'm at the end of my career. I'm still doing that. I'm still in it. But you know what? Let's celebrate. You need to get your flowers while you're here, because as you know, sometimes people pass and they don't get those flowers. You know what I'm saying? And we're having to do a postmortem, and they don't get to know that they were loved. And man, we love you and we thank you for, bro. It's an honor to have you here, man. Bro. I can't wait to tell your story, brother. Again, so I'm gonna toss it to Viva Valentina with our first question out the gate, like we do. Here we go.
We always want to know, where are you from? But
Chicago.
Really from?
Wait. Let me let you take that back, because I know you're gonna videotape this and edit it. So let you take that back because I stepped on your question. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go. Let me. Because I forgot that there's that second part to the question. So go ahead. I watched the show. I should know.
Right, because we want to know where you're from, but we want to know where you're really from and like where your parents are from. You know.
Well, both my parents are from Manila. My dad is taga Sampaloc, and then my mom is from San Andres. Those neighborhoods in Manila, but they never met in Manila. They met in Chicago, and they met in 1973, and I was born in September of 1974. So I'm sure y'all know what that meant. I mean, just celebration of life. Daniel Kaluuya. My parents had sex. Oscars, right? So yeah. They met in Chicago, and so I was born and raised in Chicago, in Oak Park, in like a neighborhood like it very much a convergence of Black and white Chicago. So like to the point where like there's a lot of mixed kids in Oak Park, River Forest area. So that's like the outskirts on the west side of Chicago. So I grew up right around there.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about their love story? What brought them to Chicago, and just a little bit about them before they brought you into the world? Because as we all know, we're the manifestation of their dreams and their hopes. So we kind of like to give them a nod and talk a little bit about them.
Of course, man. Like, well, I know that my dad will always talk, because it's just, I think destiny or fate or however you want to call it, they came together. Only because their paths were so different. Because my mom was like, scholar, went to Laos and was a nurse and did her time there. And then she got, that was her way into America, was through being a nurse in Laos and serving time as an army nurse there. And then my dad, he had a hustle. He was like, by 18, he owned his own travel agency, sold it. And then like in his mid 20s, moved out here and got a bank job at a bank and like just started hustling. Like my dad is kind of like, if there's anybody who taught me how to hustle, it's my dad. And if there's anybody who taught me how to delegate and be smart about stuff and not be so impulsive, it's my mom. So like both of them are like, my sister and I both are like a perfect combination of both of them. And they're really like, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all about my entertainment career or whatever it is, if not for my mom, because she was the first one to put me on stage with Asian American. She was really like almost a visionary in her time. Like in the late 90s, she would put on, she was the director of medical services for the Chicago Board of Education. She was like high up in the Board of Education. She worked with Michelle Obama and stuff. And it's like, she was like, she's kind of a big deal. So she would in the summertime, she would put together these talent shows where a Pan-Pacific Asian, all Asian kind of show where it was like, Indian kids and Thai kids and Chinese kids and Japanese kids and us. And then she would force me to be like, cause I likened myself to Boys to Men. And I swear to God, like if you were a 90s kid or a Filipino American 90s kid, you were straight up, you had to be in a boy band. You had to be in a boy band. Like it was almost required that you were in a boy band and you wore jeans and a tie with like a rayon shirt. Like that was your uniform as a Filipino American in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
And so we would sing like Shy and Boys to Men and all these different R&B songs. And then I remember at one of the specific talent shows, I sang Shy, and then that the long note was like, oh yeah, that whole long. I can't do it anymore because I smoke a lot now. But there was this long note on one of these talent shows, and all the girls in the audience was all high school girls, and they all screamed, and I was like, what is this?
Your fate was sealed.
I was like, what is this? I need this all the time in my life. I need people to be and straight up, like laughter is even that much more when you get that type of response, but it's a laughter or a comedic response. It's even that much more, because then it's really you. Like singing a song, you're singing song, you're interpreting somebody else's song, even if you're writing a song. Yes, that's more you, but it's still a song. You have the music and the melody to kind of help you. But when you're telling a joke and then you make people laugh, and that beautiful sound of laughter, bro, that's the same thing. It's incredible.
Hell yeah. I love it, man. And thank you for telling us a little bit more about your parents, man, because
bro,
I'm
a storyteller. I'll tell stories. I could talk too. So, I keep going. You guys got to stop me.
Hey, content. And plus I think it's amazing. So, you know how it is. But bro, like I said, I already feel like I know you because I've kind of, I've already heard these stories listening to you on your shows and your podcasts. But just props to your parents. Just hearing the beauty in what they've done and what they've done for you as their son, but just amazing. I feel like that was like your family was like the Filipino family that brought the culture to that region, because there's certain families that that have their hands in things, and the community organizations and all that, and just with what your mom's has done. And I'm a big Democrat as well, and so knowing what she did with the Obamas and all that stuff, so I'm sure you see my politics and everything. So like,
yeah, bro, we can talk about politics. I'm cool to talk about it. I don't care. And all y'all Filipinos, go ahead and come at me at the section. I'm ready for it, y'all. At Erick Esteban on Twitter, come at me. Seriously, let's debate, because I'll beat you. I'm just being real. Political science in college, and my dad and mom went to Barack Obama's first fundraiser, like first one. Okay,
that's right.
I got street cred into politics, so don't come at me in the ats. Don't come at me in the ats with the politics, y'all, because most of y'all can't even debate. And I taught debate in high schools, just so you know.
Yes.
I love it. No, I love politics, man. Because politics, I mean, the definition of politics is people.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's the movement and of people is politics. That's what politics is. So if you're not into politics, then you're not into people. And like government is it's an extension of that. There's so much that we could, like, for instance, like this show that I'm doing this week with Stephen Raga, who would be, crazily enough, the first Filipino American ever to be elected in New York, in any office. And he's running for city council. It's a small, relatively smaller office, but the first in New York, really?
Yeah.
That's the first time? That's amazing to me. And I just hope that he wins, because man, if he loses, I'd be mad.
But
there's so much we have now that we can do, and there's so many things that we can talk about now. And I think that even as comedians, as podcasters, as influencers, or whatever you want to call it, like I think now we really do have a voice. Like you have the show, man. You have people watching your show. You have people listening to this podcast. It's a place for you to show your ideas, and then hopefully you have a lot of people who agree with you and they share it, and then it blows up bigger.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And create that change, because it needs to happen.
Really, it does.
Break some of these mold and old stereotypes and these old myths. So yeah, man, again, I love your upbringing and hearing some of that, but so we're going to tell it here. So,
taking it back to your childhood, were your parents always politically inclined, and did they instill that in you at a young age? Like, how did that come about? More about your childhood.
I would say, so my mom would always tell this story of me as a little kid, like around 6 or 7 years old, because I really liked Jimmy Carter as a kid because he put solar panels on the White House. That was just something that I remembered, even as a child. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old during his presidency. So like that was the one thing I remember, because I loved my solar calculator. I thought it was just the coolest. I thought it was like Buck Rogers or something, like with my solar calculator. That's how old I am, y'all. I was like geeked about a solar calculator, and you don't even know how geeked I am about my iPhone. But I was geeked about my solar panel. So I really liked Jimmy Carter. So I myself have always kind of been. I remember like being sad in 1980. Like I don't know why, but I remember that feeling of being sad when Ronald Reagan won, and have been sad pretty much ever since, until 2008, and then got sad again in 2016. I majored in politics. I majored in political science in college, and like my parents, to be honest, especially during the Bush years, my mom and dad would almost be like, "Don't go to the protests." and don't get involved in that stuff, because they grew up under Marcos, you know, and they grew up with martial law. So it was different for them. They have a different perspective on protesting the government, because they knew that the friends that they had that protested the government aren't there anymore, you know, or they're seriously hurt or whatever else, or they're not in the Philippines anymore and can't go back or whatever. You know, there's a lot of different things that can happen to you during martial law in the Philippines when our parents and that generation was growing up. So they didn't want me to be involved in the protests. And even now, like with the Black Lives Matter protests and all those, and all the current protests that were going on now, there's always that danger. Because I mean, you see how they reacted to a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests. You got tear gases at the ready, and then you got January 6th, and homies got the rub poop on the wall. And it's mind-boggling to me sometimes when I think about the difference in stuff, because I mean, like I'm starting to talk about it more in my comedy because it's poignant, but like I grew up, like I got hassled by the cops every day. I couldn't even count actually how many times I was stopped because I fit the description, you know, in Chicago. Cause I grew up in a white neighborhood, you know, I grew up in Oak Park. So if I wasn't all black, even if when you were black, any shade other than white, you were like, you know, hands on the hood, like real quick. I tell this story now in my comedy where there was a time where I was in a car with three white people and me. So the car was full, and the cop stopped us, and the dude that was driving was his dad was a cop. And so he told the cop, he's like, yeah, my dad is precinct, yada, yada, yada. So he's like, okay, cool. And then they shine the flashlight in the car and they put it on my face and say, you get out of the car. And I was like, what did I do? He's like, get out of the car. So I got out of the car and I put my hands on and they're like, put your hands on the hood. And they put my hands on the hood. And then they like signaled to somebody in the car, in the cop car. And this really pretty, like young, like cop trainee came out. She was really pretty, like blonde hair. She actually looked like kind of like the girl that I was trying to talk to in the back seat of the car. And so I'm looking at my three friends, you know, the two white guys in the front and the white girl in the back. And the cop, the lady cop comes up to me and she starts searching me. Now I'm like 15 years old. And I'm not very, you know, sexually practiced. You know what I mean? I've kissed a little bit, maybe touched a boobie or something, but nothing crazy. So this was the first time that any female person ever touched my stuff.
The touch of a woman, yes.
This is the first time my testicles felt the touch of a woman. Was this beautiful lady cop. And because she was pretty, and because I was already kind of, you know, 15-year-old excited about
adrenaline,
you know,
rush. Mrs. Officer.
Correct. That's correct. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! You know, so my relationship with cops has always been complicated.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
Yeah.
So, okay, so your mom put you on stage at a young age doing cultural festivals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you said that you went to college for poli-sci.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened in between there? What
I watched LA Law. Remember that show LA Law? Mm-hmm. And I thought that I should be a lawyer, but really what I wanted to do was be on LA Law. That's what I figured it out, you know, like hindsight is 2020, but that's really what it was. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. Nah, I just wanted to be on LA Law.
That's
brilliant. I love that. Some good, that's some self-reflection there. I like that.
But that's just real. Like, I mean, I've been in the game 20 years, so I kind of, my motivations are like, I've figured out all my motivations that, you know, even because, you know, I've done a lot of self-examination with writing a one-man show and doing stand-up comedy. That's all it is self-examination and how you know, perceive the world. So, Yeah, no, I try to be as real as like I said, I come as real as possible. I'm no bullshit. That's the real. That's probably why I was poli-sci, was because I wanted to be like Harry Hamlin and have like, sex on a desk. It's just real. That's what they did on LA Law. Yeah. They would like do legal cases and then they'd do that in the office.
Best of both worlds. So
that was great. Oh, go ahead.
What would your parents, if we asked your parents to describe a young Erick, what would they say?
Not much has changed. That's true. Now even my dad would be like, yeah, he's not changed at all. It was the same as it was when he's 12 years old. I don't know why. I don't know. That lady who married him would even stand it, but whatever.
Oh my God.
That's no, for real. That's like straight up. That's my dad. No, I mean, no, they're very proud of me. I'll say it like that. I'm not gonna. I joke around about my parents, being lackadaisical about me, but they were there when I did my first stand-up show in Chicago, and I was 40 when I did my first stand-up show. Wow. And my dad came up to me and he was like, "You should have been doing this 10 years ago." And it was pretty cool, but it was also like, dummy, all the acting. You even have a cornrows. You put cornrows in your hair for some reason, and then you did Shakespeare. It was very stupid. You're not the artist. You're funny. That's it. Go be funny.
Yeah. Oh, wow, Filipino parents. Yep.
I mean, no, but Filipino parents are no bullshit. That's really what it ends up being. That they're gonna tell you the real. If you're not good, they're gonna tell you.
Hell yeah.
And if you're good, they're gonna challenge you. They're not just gonna be like, "Oh, you're so good, yay!" They're not gonna be a cheerleader. They're gonna push you. Yeah. And I'm glad that they pushed me. I'm glad that my dad would, be bored at, like, I'd look at Omer in the play and my dad was like sleeping or, it was funny to me because I have these stories now that I lived through all of that. And, as an artist, young artists as Filipino Americans, you don't like, there's no destination, like it took me a long time to learn that shit. It really did. As much as you don't, it seems obvious, but it in your heart and in your soul and in the way that you create stuff, you don't really learn that there's no destination until you learn it for yourself as an artist. And I think by doing stand-up and by doing all these, the journey that I've had, like that Kuya P was talking about, about how, I went from Minny Pacquiao to one-man show to stand-up, and I had to do that journey. And every artist has to do their own journey to find their own gig before, like I said, the first stand-up show I did is at 40. So yeah, it never stops. And you keep on kind of recreating yourself and evolving until you find the way you want to, what medium you want to be in. Or maybe you be in all of them and you just figure it out. You just never know.
Definitely. Yo, before we get there, because I want to get to those points, but I want to transition from the Filipino parents to right before high school and graduating and going off to college and stuff. I want to kind of get into that point from growing up in Chicago and in that area of when you first discovered you're Filipino, learning that you're Filipino. And you grew up, not in the Philippines. You grew up in, Western culture. That awakening of finding out you're Filipino, your parents, and learning about the customs and the culture. What was like that for you? And did you have a full on embrace of it, or did you reject it? Because let's be real. Some of us don't, fully feel that, and all of that. So can you tell us how your journey was with that and learning that you're Filipino?
Well, I was lucky because I had pride and like cultural immersion because my Lolo and my Lola live with us. Like we call them Nana and Tata because my Lola, God rest her soul, she don't call me Lola. I'm not old. So That was that was her reasoning. They wanted to be called Nana and Tatay. So that's fine. So that we called them Nana and Tatay. But like in every Tagalog word that I know, every like myth or cultural goofiness, like turtles are bad luck or don't pee on the tree stump, you know, the Capri will make your balls big, and all the other different stories, and the manananggal and all the different cultural things that I you know, fell in love with even as a kid. And was so like I was lucky because my nana and tatay, and my tatay especially, was very adamant about us being proud to be Filipino and be from the Philippines. So like I even as a young kid, I knew a little bit, like my tito boy, you know, because everybody got a tito boy, right?
Yeah.
But my tito boy, he passed probably 5 years ago, and I remember the best compliment he ever gave me as far as my comedy was like, he's like, you're more Filipino than most Filipinos. And I was like, wow, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that, because it's like my first thought is always repping Chicago, and my second thought is repping the Philippines and my Filipino culture. But more like I was talking about it on another interview, like more about the Filipino American culture, because when you want to talk about like the discovery and like what piqued my interest in all of this was the Manongs. When I did Romance of Magdarubia as a play, and I really like studied the Manongs, man, bro, that stuff, like when I'm reading it, like you have tears in your eyes reading it, like you know, when you read Carlos Bulosan and you put yourself there in that space, it's like, I don't know, man. Like even just talking about it now, I get goosebumps, because I remember one time I was reading this short story by Bulosan about this soldier who the story opens on a white family, and the soldier is dating the white daughter. But the story opens on the mother and father arguing about, no, we're not going to let him in the house. I don't want that mongrel in the house and all this stuff. And then so the dad meets the soldier outside at the end of the story, and the dad and the soldier just hands the dad his book of poems that he wanted to give to his daughter. And like, that's the whole story. And then I'm sitting on the hill in San Francisco reading this book, and I'm like, soldier handed this book to me in the third, but like those spiritual experiences of like stepping into the feet of our ancestors and experience the American experience through them is amazing. And that's like, that inspired me to like, through anything and everything that I do, whether it's sketch comedy, whether it's stand-up comedy, whether it's whatever, I'm going to tell our stories. So yeah, that now we're here. I'm tell more stories.
Telling your story right now, celebrating you.
Yeah, hey. But that's all part of it. That's kind of the wonderful thing of it, is that my goal when I first started was to just be a part of it. A little part of it, and now I'm a little part of it, you know, like I get to be a little part of, you know, maybe 50 years from now, some Filipino kid will want to do comedy, and they'll be like, oh, who's this guy? I know Joe Coy and Rex, but who's this guy who swears a lot?
Yeah.
So yeah. We'll see.
Hell yeah, definitely. So because I grew up in, same roots as you growing up, how did you learn about like our history and our culture? So you grew up with your tatay, your nanay and tatay. Did they teach you, or did you? I was telling the ladies, because I'm an old head like yourself. Thank you, America Online, AOL, for being like, in encyclopedias. They don't even use those no more. But like, now we have Google and we can search things up.
Oh, dude, isn't it crazy?
Learning. Like, how did you learn like about Carlos Bulosan and Rizal? Like, and I, when I saw that, and we're gonna get into it with your theater and the and just playing those characters, wow, what I'm saying? That's amazing. That's an honor. Like, how did you educate yourself on our people and our culture and our history?
I was into it. Like I really did start getting into it more in high school and college, like later on in high school and then in college. And I just really was just, cause I was kind of an avid reader. and I was an English major in college, and we didn't have the internet. So either you were playing video games, you're playing video games, or you could watch TV, or you could read. And sometimes I'd be like, I'm gonna read. So, and that's part of it. Like, some of the best experiences I've had of just reading the books, pick up, America is what is it? I can't see now. I can't even, I'm trying to think. I remember, but pick up anything by Carlos Blazon, seriously.
Yeah.
And just read it. And it's eye opening. It's amazing. Jose Rizal, I think my dad, and like inquiring with my dad and my mom and my lolo and my lola, they all gave me a little bit, because my dad would tell me stories about growing up on the street in the Philippines, and how he would sell cigarettes one at a time, and that was his first hustle, and like, or my mom, and how she would always just stay home and study and go to church. That's all she did. She'd stay home and go to church. That's straight up all she did. So like I learned through them and asking. I was just a very curious kid anyway. Like, I think if there's anything that all comedians share is really just, what's the word? Nah, I lost the word. Just a real passion for information, and stuff to talk about, and just I'm just trying to talk about everything. So definitely, it was just growing up. But at the same time, I think high school and college, I started really, let me get these books because I'm here in the library.
Hell yeah.
So let me read books about Asian American history and understand, because we didn't get that. We came up at the same time. We didn't get that in school.
Nah, bro.
If you didn't get that which you didn't get it in school, you had to go kind of search out, because there weren't ethnic study courses, even ethnic study courses. They were just starting to be African American courses during my time. So I mean, it was a very, you had to figure it out on your own. And then I have to give a shout out to one particular hip hop album that kind of inspired me in as far as like really trying to delve into my Filipino American history and Filipino American culture, and that is Native Guns, the first one, with Bamboo and Kiwi. If y'all haven't heard that album, then the first Native Guns album has inspired me in so many ways. Like, that is my favorite hip hop album, and it also kind of tells the story of the Filipino American gangbanger, which hasn't been told, and that's kind of like, that to me is like a story. I'm like, right there. That's there. Let's go. I want to tell these stories,
bro.
And so yeah,
that roots of gang.
Yeah, Filipino American hip hop too has been a thing for me. Like, that has really taught me a lot about, because the hip hop, the MCs would just talk about us and our culture, and like I didn't realize that there were Filipino gangbangers that were being deported in the 90s because on one offense, because it was a violent offense, so they were deported right away because they didn't have papers. Like the DACA and the Dreamers of that time were the same, that but they were getting deported right away because they were in a gang. So like those stories we don't know, and they haven't been told yet. And in that case, it's so recently that it hasn't even been put in a book yet. Yeah. So like those are the stories that I want to tell, whether it's comedically or if I'm writing scripts.
We're gonna have to collab because there's so many stories. I've been talking to my man.
Yeah, dude. Like when I heard you say you're working on a Lapu Lapu story, I'm like, ooh, let's collab.
Oh, bro, trust. Yo, and like speaking of the hip hop, shout out to my boy Patricio Janelsa, Lumpia with a Vengeance, the Lupia movies. Like he's got this
dude, they are awesome. They are awesome.
Yeah. He's got a DJ story that we talked about, and turntables, because we've been in the game a long time and with hip hop and all of that. But yeah, man. So just growing up, trying to learn about our history and our culture, and I used to bug my mom to try and find out. But from what I understood, somewhere down the line, growing up in the Philippines, for her, they were teaching, because we were so colonized over there as well, they were teaching her more so American history. She was getting Philippine history, so I wasn't getting none from my mom's. So it was straight up the AOL chat rooms, Pinoy Panay, if y'all remember Pinoy Panay.
Yeah, dude.
getting all the info, hitting up the library to find out what's good, you know?
I was late to the internet. I didn't go to the chat rooms because I was scared. That's how old I am. Like, I was like, nah, man, I just feel like that's just weird to me. I'm not gonna talk to people on the internet. Well, you talking to people in Australia? That's just weird, man. If I want to talk to somebody, I'll call them on my cell phone. Okay, my big ass block cell phone.
Yo, so yeah, man. So just learning about history and our culture, and then so we're in college.
You want to be a lawyer? Are you still acting at this point?
No, I hadn't started acting.
Oh, you were still performing at this point?
Yeah, it was just singing. It was just singing. It was just singing and singing in a group, and that's how I met my college girlfriend. And then my college girlfriend was really into theater in high school. Really kind of a rare, almost unicorn type of thing, because she was Filipina, but she was in a suburban high school, and she was like the star of this suburban high school. Like, she was the best singer and all this other stuff. And I'm trying to think of all the good qualities rather than talk shit about her, because she was anyway. Okay. When our relationship was going well, she's like, hey, let's take this acting class together, because our friend at the time was in a directing thing, and he had to direct this scene or a series of scenes. And if we were in the scenes, we would get credit, art credit. So I was like, all right, yeah, let's do it. You know, I was in a play in grammar school. Let's do it. And it was Death of a Salesman. And then I got to play Biff. And then there's this monologue at the end of this play about, wanting to do what you really want to do. And he's just staring at this pen, and I'm doing this monologue, and I'm like feeling these feelings. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this feeling that I have? This is amazing. This is better than anything I've ever experienced, other than maybe in the dorm room with my college girlfriend. But you know what I mean? Like, this is better than sex. Like, it feels better than anything I've ever felt. It's euphoric. It's like an epiphany. And I remember going home that night and being like, man, I don't want to be a fucking lawyer. I want to be an actor. I want to be an actor. I want to be a theater actor. And then my mom was doing it. I think it was one of the first May Asian American Heritage / History Month type things. And Lauren Tom, who was at the time starring in Friends as Ross's girlfriend, and she had just come off a Joy Luck Club. So she was like huge Asian American star at the time. And she happened to be from Chicago. Not many people know that, but she's from a small suburb outside of Chicago. And so she came during Asian American History Month in May to do her one-woman show. And my mom was like, yes, so the lady who's performing needs a assistant for the day to be like her stage manager and kind of like go get her stuff if she needs it. So are you willing to do that? Is that cool? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Who is it? And then my mom told me it's Lauren Tom. And then God bless Lauren Tom, because like, she didn't ask me to go get stuff for her or, do anything for her. I mean, she kind of did her like, cue to cue as far as the show was going. And then we kind of just chilled in her dressing room and we talked. And she's like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I kind of want to do what you're doing right now. And she's like, okay, the next time we talk, I want you to be, working on this and working on that. And she like put me on the path of being like, just do it. And then like fast forward 3 years later, she was back another May. And she was doing her show, but this time it was at Northwestern and my mom wasn't affiliated with it. But I went to the show anyway. And after the show, there was like a talk back. And I wrote her a card thanking her for like that day, but also telling her that I was in the Screen Actors Guild and that I had, been, in countless plays. I was just about to earn my equity card. And I'm on the journey that you put me on in that day. And then she was crying and I was crying and everybody in the theater was crying and it was really beautiful. But like, that was what started my acting career, was that day with Lauren Tom and my mom putting me with Lauren Tom. So again, it's like my mom putting me in the space and giving me the opportunity to be involved with these really cool people and then these really cool people being really, really cool and being like, yeah, dude, just do it. It's cool. And so, yeah. And so when you get those experiences and you feel those type of things and I could tell you countless stories of other times where it's like the universe or life or God or whatever it is you believe is the higher power is like saying, hey, bro, you're on the right road. Just keep going. Just keep going. Be patient and, experience life and live life, and whatever happens is going to happen. Don't worry about it. You're good. So, yeah.
Wow. Nice. Oh, that's beautiful.
I told you I could tell stories.
It's crazy that you dropped her name, because I was actually looking at different interviews that I have lined up and who I'm trying to book. And Lauren Tom was one of the names that I have on a list.
Dude, Lauren Tom would be like, she's a queen, bro. She's a queen. I mean, she's theater, stage, Broadway.
Exactly.
I mean, all of it. I mean, and still doing it now.
Exactly.
30 years later.
It's crazy that you dropped her name, because that was one of the names I was highlighting on a discussion yesterday. It's crazy. It's insane how the world speaks. The universe speaks.
Yeah, dude, it speaks to you. That tells you you're in the right spot. There's no such thing as coincidence. It's when you feel that type of like, oh, this is coincidence. This is deja vu. That's the universe telling you you're in the right space.
There we go. Yo. So let's get into acting before the comedy. One of the roles we discussed earlier, and you the Manongs and playing that, when that part came along, was that like your first time like interpreting our people on stage?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Because I get Miscellaneous Brown from the first part of my acting career. Because the first part of my acting career, I literally played every shade of brown that you could think of, like from Puerto Rican to Black to Native American. I mean, like every color, right? So cool. And it taught me to be a better actor. I mean, have to embody each one of those characters. Like I was never one to be like, don't do accents or don't do this or don't do that, because if those help you to get into the character, and then the character is a three-dimensional real character and the accent isn't a joke, then do it, but it really always depends on the character. It depends on the material, but yeah, no, that first part of my acting career was all just creating characters. And then when I auditioned I remember I saw the listing at Victory Gardens, and I knew that I was, just about ready to get my equity card. And if I got that play, I was going to be in equity. And I was like, look, man, I ultimated, because when you're young, you do those type of stupid things. You're like, bro, if I don't get this, I quit.
I'm going to be
for real. No, for real. If I don't get this shit, I quit. There's 5 roles. All of them are Filipino men. And there's but like 3 Filipino actors in Chicago right now.
I gotta be one.
Your odds are good.
I better get this shit, mother. They better not cast a Puerto Rican. Because Midwestern white people, they'll do that shit. They'll cast, they'll be like, ooh, he looks Filipino, and then they'll cast a Puerto Rican dude, or vice versa. And I'll be like, you got a Filipino right here. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so I really did ultimatum that shit. I was like, if I don't get this, I should really reevaluate my career choices, because if I can't get this here in Chicago, there's no way I'm going to LA. There's no way I'm going to Hollywood. There's no way I'm doing any of that stuff, because if I can't even get this is the big shit, big time right now. This is equity. You've been doing theater for 8 years. If you don't get this, bro, you should get a different job. That's kind of what I put that pressure on myself. And so I walked into the audition, and I came in off book, memorized with the monologue that they gave us. And I felt good on that. And then they had us sing, and that was back when I could still audition for musicals and sing. So I killed that too. Like they had us all actually sing, all the auditioners sing in the room together. And we all had to sing. And then I remember when I sang, all the other dudes were like, oh, damn. So I was like, I got this. And then, and so this is the best audition I ever have in my life. Like, I feel good, right? I feel like I'm going to get this. And then we all leave. And then the director, Loy Arsenis, genius, just genius director, runs out. He's like, Erick. And I was probably halfway down the block out of the theater. And I turned around and I was like, is that the director? And I'm like, oh, so I run back over there. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, you're available for all the dates, right? All the dates, there's no conflict at all. You're all available. And I was like, oh, I'm available for all of it. Anything you need. I'm cool. I'm here. I'm there for it. Okay, we'll be in touch. And then he turns around and walks away. And I was like,
that's so cool.
And I was like, I guess I'm not quitting. Woohoo! Yeah, no, and it was the trip because in that play, my friend Narciso, he was a castmate of ours. Like, we didn't know what roles we were playing until the first day of the rehearsal. And we were auditioning for the same role of Claro, the villain of the play, on the first day of rehearsal. In front of the whole cast and reading with Magno, with Rodney Toe. So it was just a trip. It was like, who's better? And Lloyd just put us up against each other in that first audition. And I was like, well, bro, I'm sorry, Narciso, but I'm getting this shit, okay? I'm getting it. And I played the villain. And luckily I got to do it twice because then I moved to LA and Ted Benito, my Hollywood Nino, called me and he was like, hey man, you played Claro once in Chicago. Would you like to do it again at the Ford Theater? And I was like, yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, and you're going to be doing it with John Briones. Okay, John Briones is going to play Magno Rubio. Okay, and I'm like, okay, cool. And at that point, I was, I'm just cocky LA actor. I book stuff. Let's go. I'm like, who's John Briones? And this dude that started Miss Saigon and the whole thing, him and Leia, and I'm like, who's that? So then I get to the first rehearsal, and I always remember this because I told this story when John was on my podcast, and I remember how he validated it. I was like, oh my God, he remembers, and that makes me even feel better. But I remember because Bernardo was directing the play, and that was another reason because Bernardo was in the Chicago cast. So he was like, yeah, just put Erick in there because he could do it. And so on the first day of rehearsal, they had me read the conflict scene of the play with John. And I remember Bernardo, I don't think that Bernardo and John realized that I could speak fluent Tagalog and I could understand Tagalog really well, but they were talking in Tagalog. And I remember Bernardo, John was like, are you sure this guy is, like he's saying it in Tagalog, he's like, are you sure this guy is good? And I remember Bernardo was like, just read with him. Just read with him. And so, because at that point, I'm sure I was just this loud, boisterous, obnoxious asshole at the first thing where I'm like, yeah, I just, Ted just called me a couple days ago. I'm here, whatever, and so I'm just oblivious to my surroundings, really. But so then I get the script, I pick up the script, and I read with John. And it's this part where I have to get really mad and I'm like, like really thing. And then we do the scene. And I remember I was watching John's eyes through the whole scene. And John's eyes, like, as soon as I started reading, he was like, and then he said to Bernardo, I remember him saying, oh, gulat. I was gulat. I got, and like there was a moment that he acknowledged, like it wasn't even, I was almost even unspoken, where I was like, oh, okay, we're here to play. Let's go. This kid can play. Let's go. You know, like when you're playing in a basketball game and you don't know who to pass to, and then you're like, oh, that guy could play, and you pass it to him and they can't fucking shoot, and then you pass it to somebody and you're like, oh, he can pass, shoot, and dribble, and he's good. Okay, cool, let's play. And I'll always remember those scenes with John. And I mean, and John and we call each other Manong to this day, like almost 8 years removed. I'm like, he's my brother. He's still my brother. He's always gonna be my brother. And I'm so happy for all the success that he has. And I wish I knew who he was when I first acted with him. I might have been more intimidated.
Yo, so playing, so you get the role and you're playing it, the importance of representation and doing characters that are us, man. Can you just talk on that? And then that brotherhood, working with these amazing actors like John, and just,
I mean, John, Joe Ferranda, Rodney Toe,
yeah, exactly.
Narciso Lobo, Bernardo. I mean, Jesus Christ, Gio Ortega, Anthony Ronaldo Deal. I mean, just like all these amazing Filipino artists that I get to work with. Are you kidding me? Like I was Jello Francisco, who runs the Filipino choir. I mean, like just these amazing Filipino artists. And then Ted, who's like the amazing Filipino producer. I do believe that he is one day going to be the first Filipino American to win an Oscar for producing a film. Like I do believe that. Like that's his goal, and I think he's going to do it. Like I to be connected with all these people, it's Jesus Christ. But not even just that, man. Like there was a night where we sold out night. They didn't tell any of us this. Sold out night, and Luis Alfaro, who was a state California assemblyman, came to the show and presented us with this like certificate from the state of California and the State Assembly of California, officially apologizing for the anti-miscegenation laws of the 30s and 40s. And like straight up, he was reading it, and we were all just crying and like just to imagine to be like telling the story of the Manongs, and then however many years later now to be here and on stage as a celebration, to be like commemorating them, but then now getting the official apology from the state of California. Like, I don't need an Oscar ever. I don't need an Emmy. I don't need any of that. Are you kidding me? Like, that is a once in a lifetime type of experience that I could never even have dreamt of beginning acting. And here I am experiencing that, and like being on stage with these actors who are now walking the red carpet at Emmys and like being a part of that. And I'm a small part of that. Thank you. I can't, I'm just blessed and thankful to be even just a small, like little part of that. Like, come on, that's amazing. So that's why, like, we talk about Filipino American history, and like the fact that I get to say that I was one of the dudes that was in that play. And, there's only a handful of us who are in that play. And hopefully somebody produces it again.
Yeah, I love.
Don't worry, I'm going to.
Hey! I can't wait.
Because I think the next generation of Filipino American actors, the young bucks, not only have to tell that story through that story, but also learn, the history behind that story. So I definitely do think that it should be done again, and younger actors should get an opportunity to do that. I mean, and I could play one of the older characters instead of the younger characters.
I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait to see it. Knowing your history and seeing that was done, man. I'm like, that would have been my Hamilton to me. You know what I'm saying? Fuck, that was I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love Lin-Manuel Miranda, but you know what I'm saying? That's American. This is my history right here.
Yeah, no, that was my Hamilton for real. That and to be honest, like, being a part of that, it really is kind of like, because it was done in New York and Chicago and LA and Seattle, and like it was a play that was nationally produced, and only 5 Filipino guys get to do it at a time. So I'm extremely blessed to have been able to be a part of it. Like, it's amazing. And I'm sure I'm leaving out 1 or 2 productions, but it hasn't been done that often. So the idea that I was even just a small part of it is like, it's an incredible honor. And it's my acting street cred. So whenever anybody forgets that if I'm just a stand-up comedian, people will, it's kind of like, hey, bro, nah, I'm an actor too.
There you go. Brush them shoulders off, man. You get your flowers for that, man. I
That's
wish
a
it
good
was.
for how you went from acting to stand up.
Right. Tell us that story.
Ooh, okay. You got to talk about therapy. Okay.
Now we're getting to it.
No, well, you might get into, I might even cry. You never know. No. Okay. It was forced. And by that, I mean, I was riding high. I moved here to LA. I probably booked like 4 national commercials. TurboTax commercial was running for like 3 years, giving me a nice chunk of money. This was before the writer's strike and before all the restructuring of it. So it was like, you could make a good chunk of money on a national commercial. So I was making bank. And so I started doing Minny Pacquiao. I bought a camera, like all the cameras that are now I'm looking at on eBay and Amazon that are like $150. Those cameras were like $1,000 back then. So I bought one, and I started shooting Minny Pacquiao. And then, I don't know. I don't even like, tell me the question again, because I'm like, oh, I now remember. Cause yeah. So yeah, I'm a little scared to tell it. That's why. Yeah, no, but, so I did Minny Pacquiao and started booking a bunch of stuff through the Filipino American community here in LA. And that was really cool, but it was also, this is good exposure. And I had a lot of money commercially, and I'm not a greedy person. I don't need to get paid for stuff if I don't, like I'd rather make you laugh. Like that's worth more to me than anything you could pay me at this point in my career. You know what I'm saying? And especially at that point in my career, I was just like, I'm happy for the opportunity. So like, oh yeah, I'll do it for $50 or I'll do it for this or I'll do, and at that point, and then the commercials money started stopping. And then the Minny Pacquiao stuff was so demanding that I stopped booking commercials. And then my commercial agents, and trust me when I say, like, you can book as bunch of stuff and you can have the best theater resume in the world. And, you produce your own stuff. And still to this day, I've been in LA for over a decade, still don't have a theatrical agent, but this commercial agent was booking me. Right. And then they dropped me through an email and spelled my name wrong on email.
Oh my gosh.
And I probably in the 4 years that I was with them before they dropped me, I had probably made, I made a lot of money for the agency. Let's say it like that. And maybe not in relation or comparison to other clients, but I know in relation to me, it was probably the most money I've ever made at that point in my career. And so when I got dropped, it was weird, because I'd never been rejected. Like even through my first auditions in the beginning of my acting career, like I booked everything. Like, you heard the story about Romance of Manny Rubio. After my audition, the director ran after me, down the block. So I've never really, like, I remember my very first theater audition was like, the director said, after I did my monologue, they were like, okay, so let me just make sure before we even go forward, you're available for callbacks, right? That was what he said to me. Like my very first theater audition, and I did my first monologue, my heart's beating so fast. I'd never, and afterwards they were like, yeah, so are you available for callbacks? And I was just like, wow. So it's always been easy for me. You know what I'm saying?
Hit the ground.
It's just always been easy for me. And then to be dropped was like, wow. It was like a divorce. It was like a, am I supposed to be doing this anymore? But this time it wasn't even myself giving me that ultimatum. It was somebody else telling me, nah, you're done, kid. You're starting to have kids, you're married, you're starting to settle down. You're done, kid. You're not going to do this anymore. And they literally, one of my managers at the time, after they dropped me, they were like, yeah, you're starting to have kids. You're going to start to settle down. You'll probably get a nice job and you'll be fine. It's all good. Everybody was like, okay, cool. Let's get your 20s were good, but your 30s, you're not going to book anymore. And it sent me into a real deep depression, therapy for 6 months deep. Like, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, if my therapy saved my life for real, like talking it out and like figuring out where I was in this space, you know, and in the space in relation to my family, and in the space in relation to the family that I was building with my wife and my new child and all of it, and it's everything, all the pressure and everything. And it was really just like too much. And if I didn't have therapy, I wouldn't be doing what I do today, because like it was through her and through her and through her, you know, guidance. But I mean, it really ended up being, you know, I mean, you know how therapy works. If you've been to therapy, it's really just you hearing your own voice, saying the things that you need to hear, because that's really what therapy is about, because you have to understand yourself and know the thoughts that are going on in your head, you know, and if you don't hear them yourself, sometimes they stay there and they fester and they turn into different things and they turn into unhealthy things. So, yeah. So like, anyhow, therapy really just changed my life. And at the end of it, I remember she was like, okay, I'm looking forward to you sending me an email about one of your shows. And so that was the last session I had with her. And then it was Ted Benito's 50th birthday, coincidentally, like maybe like 2 weeks after my therapy had finished. And Rembrandt Sibilis was at the party. And I was talking to Ted. I was like, he's like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm thinking about starting stand-up comedy. I'm thinking about maybe doing my one-man show, but in a different way, like, you know, structured in a stand-up comedy way. And he's like, I think that's great. You should talk to Rembrandt Sibilis. And Rembrandt was at his party. And so I talked to Rembrandt and he was like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm writing a lot of jokes and I'm writing a lot of stories down. And he's like, have you gone to any open mics? And I'm like, do I really need to go to open mics? I'm like, go to open mics. You know, he's like, go to open mics. And after you've gone to a few open mics, hit me up and I'll put you on a show. Now, the only reason I mention this is because Rembrandt is like the dude, like there's always people there that'll put you on the path. You know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be people, again, like that we're talking about with the universe. There's always going to be people there that are like, hey, nudge you a little in the right direction. And that was Rembrandt for me. And then like, I only mention this because he's no longer with us. But when I met him, he had this bump on his arm. And I was like, I didn't really, you know, take notice of it. You know, like when people have, you know, stuff on, you know, whatever, you just ignore it or whatever. And this was like maybe 2 months later. I didn't realize that the bump was cancer. It was cancerous. It was a tumor and it grew. And in the time that it took for him to tell me to go to open mics, in like 2 months, a month and a half, his arm was already amputated. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so he reaches out to me on Facebook and he's like, hey man, you want to do a show? Are you ready to do a show? And I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited. Like, and you know how social media is, it's myopic. You're just really look on your own stuff unless you really are trying to search out for other stuff. And so I didn't know what was going on with him. Right. I get to the show and his arm is gone. And he's not like, he didn't even mention it. It's like nothing. By the way. It's weird, you know, like to the point where I'm like you don't want to make a joke of it because it's not obviously something to joke about, but I'm like, bro, I elephant in the room though. It's like, what's up, you know, with your arm? He's like, oh, that bump that you saw on my arm when we met was cancerous. So they removed it. And I had the surgery about a month ago. And I was like, holy cow, man, that's amazing. But he's like, but that doesn't matter. You got your 5 minutes. You ready? You ready to do this? Let's do this. You're opening for Joey Gillett. Come on. Right. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And so we did the show and then we did a few other subsequent shows, and maybe like 3-4 months later and like maybe 5 or 6 shows later, I got a call from his wife and she's like, Rembrandt went to the hospital. And then I went to the room and Rembrandt was like, he was in a lot of pain because the cancer had come back, and it's kind of spread, and there was kind of like almost time, but he was in a lot of pain. But at the same time, all we talked about was, bro, we're gonna do a show in Chicago, right? We're gonna do a show in Chicago. We're gonna do a show in Chicago. Don't worry. Trust me, we're going to do a show. I'm going to get better. We're going to do a show in Chicago. That's all we would talk about. So that's all we talked about in the like 20 minutes that I was with him, where I wasn't just like, letting him be. And then he passed the next day. And then I kept doing stand up, right? And I kept pushing, I was, like, it was weird to me because I didn't have anybody to guide me anymore. I was all on my own because Rembrandt really did like put me on. Like he didn't say like, don't take that college show. You're not ready for that yet. Like he would say real stuff to me. Like, and I then like was approached to do a show in Chicago in October of 2019. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I wanted it to be an all Asian lineup, just in the way that Rembrandt used to produce his shows, but I wanted it to be like a Pan-Pacific show, like my mom used to produce shows. And so I, did that and sold that out, and they're paying me to do a Zoom show this next week. And like, it's successful, and they're going to keep doing it and keep doing it. And, at the end of that show, it's like the end of my, it's at the end of my debut comedy EP. Go back to where you came from. If you want to listen to it, it's in podcast form. No, but if you want that, at the end of that album, I say, thank you guys for allowing me to, be a part of this and do stand-up comedy for you. And thank you for allowing me to fulfill my promise to Rembrandt. So it's like stand-up comedy means a lot to me now. Like yeah. No, like I understand my responsibility now with all of it. Like I think more than, it's like I do think that it's a responsibility and it's a gift, and like Spider-Man, with great responsibility. Yeah, you know how it goes. I can't remember it now because I've been talking a lot, but you know what I'm saying. Man.
Yo, that's just beautiful, dude. Thank you for bearing your soul on that and sharing that. I know how, I'm sure that was difficult as well, but I think it's important for people to. You know what, though? It's not as difficult as it was the first time. Yeah.
Like when I said it the first time at the end of the show, it was a little bit like lump in my throat type of thing. But now I'm good to tell Rembrandt's story. Like I want to tell that story. Like exactly. I want to tell the story of a man who had so much passion for his craft that before the day that he died, he was talking about doing shows. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't going to give up even on the day that God told him that was his time to give up. Like he wasn't ready to give up.
Hell yeah.
And so like I want to be like that. That's how I want to go out. You ain't gonna take me out. You got to take me out because I'm not going out just giving up. I'm gonna keep going.
Hell yeah, dude. I started to feel it right there on that one, right there. That's what you were saying. Cause fuck everything, man. Like seriously, dude. And with like the craziness in the world, which we discussed earlier, man, that's beautiful, dude. And I'm happy and you're blessed to have somebody like that rode for you like that. Cause not a lot of us have that, so that was absolutely beautiful.
I've been so lucky, man. I've really been very lucky. Like again, even during this pandemic, like the idea that Ted, see, I told you, like Ted is my Hollywood Nino, but Ted Benito reached out to me with Kevin Acebo, who former deputy mayor of Los Angeles. And they're like, hey man, would you be interested in doing comedy videos for Filipino Americans for Biden? And I was like, I'm a Filipino political science minor. Let's do this.
Perfectly tailored just for you.
Well, and it was like, and I'm like, the only thing that I didn't like was like, the first thing I asked was, can I swear? And they were like, no, you can't swear. And I was like, because you see, like I'm trying not to swear, but I still like little words slip out because.
Yeah.
Like I learned how to talk watching Eddie Murphy Delirious.
Hello, bro. I'm former military. There's certain curse words that just emphasize your points.
Well, and I think it's like we're all adults.
Yeah.
We're all adults here. We've all heard the words before. I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I push them to swear, and they're like, "Daddy, no, no." And I'm like, "Come on, just say it. Just say it. It feels good. Say it." Because I don't want them to be afraid of the words.
That's so
Because there's too many words in this language that we're afraid of. Like, be afraid of the right ones. Don't say the N word. Say the F word. It's good. It feels good.
I'm like the exact opposite. My 10-year-old cursed for the first time, and I was like, "You better not fucking say that."
Of course you did. Of course you did. No, my 10-year-old is very good. She won't swear. And then my 6-year-old though, she's mischievous, and I feel like when I coax her, she'll sometimes be like, "Fuck." Because I'm like my dad, like all Filipino dads love it when you swear in Tagalog in front of them. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
Like if you say, "Oh, putang ina," and my dad will be like, "Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite. That's my son."
Hell yeah. Yes. And then when they say your name, when you're in real trouble and they curse at you and then they say your whole name.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick Michael Strange.
Yeah, I'm like, no, but you know what? You know what's bad? Okay. I'm going to tell y'all the ultimate comeback, but it's very disrespectful, so maybe I shouldn't.
Come on.
Okay. So y'all know the total and see, this is where I walk the line, but I'm not going to say some stuff. Y'all try to catch me to say some inappropriate stuff on a podcast, then I get canceled after the ShoPowSho.
We can't
see what happens.
We can't have them canceled, bro.
See, because I'm with every joke that I have, I say it in my head like 3 or 4 times before I say it. Because you got to think before you say stuff. So and especially if you're a comedian, like you're always borderline going to say something offensive. So you kind of really have to
filter.
Like I was going to say it, then I'm like, nah, I better not. That's bad. And then y'all think bad of me.
Yo, man, Eric, I could talk with you for hours, brother. Like I love your soul, man, and you just like you're like a kuya for real. So kuya, Eric, man, yeah. And every time I see
kuya Eric, bro, we're kuyas. This is the meeting of the kuyas.
Definitely. So to just wind it out because I'm looking at the time. Like, man, I took a lot of my man's time so far. So that just means we have to have you back. We got a lot more stories.
Yeah, no, well, bro, anytime you want me back, bro. We're still here in the quarantine, and not even just that. It's my pleasure. I love this stuff. This is so much fun to me, and like just talking to you guys and being a part of this culture that you're creating. It's my pleasure.
Appreciate you, bro. What do you have immediately coming? I know you got the I think I saw Crazy Woke. Man, you got a lot of Zoom things coming out soon.
This week, bro. It's like, well, this week I got Steven Raga's comedy karaoke fundraiser where I'm hosting it, and I'm gonna prove to everybody that I can still sing. Because I was on I Can See Your Voice and I sang badly, but I'm Filipino, okay? I can still sing karaoke.
Bud, you got this.
They just told me to sing badly for the TV show, and I can take direction, okay? Excuse me.
I'm sure if I
we'll be back. You can come back and we can. When you just send me the Zoom link, and I'll be here.
Hell yeah, and I'll give you like a run from Boys to Men, and I'm sure that'll start you off. Because I was that cat too, brother.
We can harmonize.
Like Jodeci, Shy, Silk, Portrait, High Five.
Hell yes.
All of that right here. All for
we gotta put some cross color jeans on backwards.
Tell it. Man, yo, let me give it to Kat, man, because we'll go for more hours, man. But this was a true pleasure. Kat, hit him up.
All right. Now it's time, since we are part of the Nerds of Color, for our nerd check. So what is your nerdy area of expertise?
Marvel Universe, MCU, baby. I love it. I love the MCU. And I mean, I love Marvel comics even just in general, but that's my favorite. I mean, I love Star Wars too, but Marvel and Star Wars are my jam for sure.
Okay. Avengers or X-Men?
See, with the MCU, and you say that like you could ask me that 10 years ago, and I would have flat said X-Men. But now with the way that like it's so brilliant the way that they branded the Avengers as far as in the MCU, I'm gonna have to go Avengers now because I love it. I love them so much, and you know I have a Black Captain America now, so I'm even happier.
Yes.
Hell yeah!
They're gonna come back with good X-Men stuff.
Oh no, that's I know that Kevin Feige he's doing it. He's gonna do it right because he's gonna do it the same way that he did the Avengers. He's gonna plant seeds. You know, like Madripoor was a seed in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was a seed, even though they didn't have no Asians in that South Asian country. I was boggled by that. I was a little boggled. I have to mention nerds of color. I'm just, you know, we nerds of color, so I got to mention how come there was no Asians in Madripoor?
I the same thing, brother.
I could have played the shit out of that bartender role. I could have cut that snake and I put the thing in there. I would have totally done that. Come on. I'm right here, Kevin Feige. I'm right here.
Hell yeah, we were definitely saying that on some of our reviews, man. I'm gonna have to hit you up since you're such a Marvel head, man.
Definitely, please do.
To have you do some nerd shit.
Please do. I remember I met with Elaine Yu.
Okay.
You know the guy who was on Hellstrom.
Yeah, I'm actually talking to him tomorrow.
Oh, dude, because tell him obviously he'll tell you the story of when he got cast in Hellstrom, but like when he got the call and the first words were "Welcome to Marvel," like. We both were crying at the end of the story. Like, bro, it was amazing because like being one of the first Filipinos in the MCU, that's pretty awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that, bro. Again, universe. You talked about Lauren. I was talking about Lauren Tom yesterday. You brought her up today. You brought up Alan Yu. I'm talking to him tomorrow. What the fuck?
It's all connected.
Crazy. Yo,
see the FCU, the Filipino Cinematic Universe. That's what we have.
Yes. Yo, Erick, man, how can they hit you up online for we're gonna have it in the description below, but for our audio listeners on Spotify, iTunes, all of that, how can they hit you up, bro?
You can find me on Instagram at Miscellaneous Brown, the full Miscellaneous Brown, and on Twitter at Erick Esteban, one full word, ERICK Esteban.
Yes. Yo, salamat po, kuya Erick, man. This is a pleasure, bro. Your family.
Yeah, man. We gotta do this again because you know, like we only just scratched the surface. Like we just got to my acting career and like started my stand-up comedy. I mean, there's so much more story to be told.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Can't wait, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, we're gonna have to have you back, man.
Definitely.
Boom, there you go, Erick Esteban, aka Minny Pacquiao, aka the bite-sized Biani, comedian, actor, he's done everything, man. This brother's done everything. He's been in the game a long time representing, and he just comes from an amazing bloodline. Shout out to his mom and pops, just sister, all of that family, man, just represent for the culture. I love that one, if y'all couldn't tell. Like I've seen everything that he's done, and I can't wait to do more with him, man. What y'all think?
No, I thought he was great to talk to. You know, he had a lot to say. It was very, very interesting, diverse life experiences, but also some things that were definitely, you know, hashtag relatable.
Yeah, that, and it was just really cool to hear how how his path unfolded, and then how it really became a vocation for representation.
Yes.
And we're telling those Filipino stories that don't always get told, for being in those plays, and then for pivoting then from acting into stand-up, and then look at that, like being on the roster for stand-up comedians, for Filipino Americans, for Biden, like that was made for him. Mm-hmm. So it's just really cool seeing that. You know, we mentioned the universe, we mentioned God, we mentioned, you know, life path and stuff, but that's really it at work, and that's really cool to see. And also a really good message about like, hey, he did his first stand-up when he was 40. It's
You're never too late for anything. Don't ever give up. You don't have to feel tied into the same occupation. Like this of this week of this recording, we just dropped our episode with Rollins Patugan, who started in computers, then got into acting. Now is a photographer and an instructor. And it doesn't matter what age you are. Follow your dreams, follow your heart, and just have faith in yourself and have faith in the universe that everything's gonna be all right. And I know I always need to hear that. I know y'all ladies, with everything y'all are doing, you need to hear that. And just these reminders from the universe, just speak that truth. So it's just beautiful. I love it.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think it was Rollins that said that if art is in you, it's gonna come out. So
hell yeah.
It's never too late, and if it's in you, it's in you. So.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Kuya, man. You're gonna be a part of the family as with Rollins, as with everybody that we've had on, man. This is always so beautiful and always so enlightening and always so inspiring. Ladies, let them know how they can reach out to us if they have suggestions or if there's things that they would like to see us talk about, how they can hit us up and talk about it.
Yeah, I'm Cataphoric. You can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. I'm also over on TikTok. We also have a ShoPowSho TikTok for a little bit more behind the scenes. And if you want to know what's going on with us or check out the ShoPowSho and Tell from this episode, then you can follow us on Patreon or just buy us a coffee.
And I am Viva Valentina. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at viva.valentina. And Twitter and chess.com at Viva Valentina XO.
Yes. Cataphoric, Viva Valentina. Love y'all, the amazing Ates, the Dinaguan Destroyers, the Lechon Ladies, the Sisig Supremes. Love y'all. I am Kuya P. You can follow me at Strange Since 1977 or at Temple Far East or at the NRW and at New Release Wednesday, where nerds rule the world. And of course, the home of the ShoPowSho at the Nerds of Color. And make sure you follow ShoPowSho. That is us, and we are all about our people and all about our culture. And we love y'all. Mahakita. Salamat. Boom.
Now let's just do that. That's cool. Let's
get the branding in there, brother. Get the
branding. There you go. How you doing, man? Nice to meet you.
Hey, I feel like I already know you in a small way, dude.
Yeah, dude. Nah, for real. Like it feels like we've been like homies for a minute already because we talk online all the time.
Yeah, man. And I wish like you've been in the game for a minute. Like mad respect to you, man. It's like, because we're not out there and represented enough that it's like when you find out like cats that have been doing it for a minute, you know what I'm saying? Like I've been doing my thing on the East Coast, and then I've, with the past year and a half doing this ShoPowSho, linking up with all these West Coast cats that are killing it, and then hearing that you were like a Midwest cat, Chi-Town, and then taking your game out to LA, doing your thing, man. I'm like, bro, you've mad respect, yo, and just what you've done for the cause and everything, man. Like,
oh man, thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. I had this date circled on my calendar because I've been excited, man. I watched all the past episodes, and I was watching I especially loved Ron Johnson's episode, the first one. That was one of my favorites, just because Ron is one of those cats that like he's like I remember I went to one of his shows and he made fun of my hair because I've been cutting my own hair a lot, especially during quarantine. But I've been cutting my own hair, and I had like this big poofador of hair. And Ron Johnson was like, dude, what the hell is up with your hair? I'm like, bro, that's my style. That's how I attract attention to myself on stage. And just the fact that he would like acknowledge me and like talk to me, and like it was really cool. And like even throughout all the stuff, like even this quarantine and like being on these Zoom calls and getting to talk to Ericks on Zoom and talking to Ericks for an hour on Zoom about the damn the election and how he feels about it, and the idea that he's able to like express himself politically. Yeah. You know, whereas most of us, even especially as artists, we don't get to do that. Like I was on this other interview about race, and they were like, what are the taboos and things that could get your race card declined from you? And I know that, you know, like for Filipinos, like especially Filipino comedians, like making fun of Catholicism in a way would be it'd be a death card for some folks, especially if you do it in a dumb way. Yeah. You could do it and it could backfire on you really quickly and really drastically. So like, you know, I mean, just that it's just that it's a very conservative culture when it comes to that. So like, yeah, I tread very lightly when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I've been trying to navigate through that, you know, for exactly with the same reasons. But man, I got to tell you, like with the pandemic and just everything that we've all gone through, I'm like, Captain, don't give a fuck no more, bro. To be honest,
I'm in that like, same boat. I'm in that same boat. To be honest,
you know, I'm just so done with shit, man. To be honest.
Well, and also I'm done.
So long and seeing your grind so long, it's like, you know what? I know who the cats who really love me, and the cats that really love me have always been with me. So they're gonna ride with me no matter what.
And the thing is, man, it's like I don't even care anymore. Yeah. Like I'm not in it for that.
Yeah,
I'm really not. Like I'm like, especially during the quarantine, you learn. You're like, okay, what are you doing this for? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, really, what are you doing this for? Like, and you know, between the Biden stuff and then just even the stuff that I'm starting to try and talk about in a poignant way in my comedy, like just every day, like just trying to be like, damn, he already got jokes about that stuff. That's kind of where I want to be. Because I remember in my conversation with Ericks, he was talking about, you know, whatever you're talking about, you want to be dangerous. Mm-hmm. I always remember that Ericks told me to be dangerous. So I'm like, one of my mentors told me to be dangerous. I'm going to be as dangerous as possible. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Like, look at him. I got a skull hat. Yeah. I like, you know, I'm trying to look all urban.
I like that hoodie too. It's all a dream. I like that. Nice.
Biggie, man. It started with Biggie.
Hell yeah, bro. I've been peeping your style and just the way you carry yourself and everything. I'm like, yo, you're the Midwest version of me. Like I feel.
Bro, we're brothers. We're brothers. Like if I could, because my wife is working in the office, right? She's working in the office with all the toys, but we got the same. It's like the same thing. And Spider-Man is my guy, dude. Like I saw your background and I was like, man, this is my brother from another mother for real, because we got the same dress. Look, we look like we could be interchangeable. We got hoodie with the hat.
Yes, sir. Hey man, well let me you know, I know the ladies probably like, man, these guys are just gonna jibber jabber. But man, I was
just about to say hello, ladies. It's really nice to meet both of you.
It's very nice to meet you.
I'm excited to talk with you about everything.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
So yeah, man, we're gonna just celebrate you, brother, on this 500th anniversary. I saw your little tweet on the ballot.
How cool is that, right? I don't believe in coincidences, man. For real. Like I tweeted, I was like, bro, I don't really believe in it. This is a sign for this shit. Like the fact that we on Lapu Lapu Day and we're doing this shit. Let's do it, I'm at a point in my career where it's like Lapu Lapu, right? You know, if you don't like me, I'm gonna cut your head off.
Great.
Tell it. Yes.
You know, look, if you're stupid, I'm gonna cut your head off.
You know.
Just like my boy Lapu Lapu. Like, I don't deal with stupidity anymore. Like we were talking before. Mm-hmm. I can't do it anymore, bro. Yeah. Like you're going to come at with me, Mr. Potato Head or some other bullshit. Like I can't, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to come at you pretty real and pretty hard. And if you try to come at me harder, you're probably going to need therapy at the end of this shit. That's just how I roll.
Well, that is kind of like how this is. So you've seen previous episodes, man. Mm-hmm. This is kind of a therapy session. It kind of like grew out of just wanting to celebrate us and our people, as you know, just kind of like I'm again, like I said, you and I feel like we're like one and the same. What you do with Miscellaneous Brown, like you tell our stories. Now we're gonna tell your story and show
thank you,
love, man. So for my audience, man, I can't wait to do it. But yeah, we're gonna celebrate you and we'll have fun. You ladies ready? Get it rolling. All right.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Erick Esteban, aka Miscellaneous Brown, and I'm gonna be a guest on the ShoPowSho. What you know, nerds of color. See, we coming. Yo, what's up? It's your boy Erick Esteban, aka Miscellaneous Brown, and I'm gonna be on the ShoPowSho because my Filipino American heritage means everything to me. It's my inspiration for my comedy. It's my inspiration for the stories that I tell. It's the stories that I want to tell that haven't been told. That's what Filipino American heritage and culture and history mean to me. It means a lot.